The rain had always followed Aarav. Not literally, of course. But every important moment in his life seemed to arrive wrapped in grey clouds and wet streets. The day his mother died, the night he left home, the evening he signed the divorce papers he never wanted to sign. And now this. Another storm. Another ending. He stood outside the old railway station in Mumbai, hands buried deep in the pockets of his black coat, watching people rush past him beneath umbrellas and flickering yellow lights. 7 years. 7 years since he had last seen her. Yet the moment he heard her name again, the wound inside him reopened like it had never healed. Mira Kapoor. The woman who had once loved him enough to ruin herself. The woman he had failed to save. Aarav checked his phone again. Train delayed by 20 minutes. He laughed bitterly. Of course it was. Even fate liked making him wait. The station smelled of wet iron, cigarette smoke, and chai. Somewhere nearby, an old man was singing softly beside a tea stall. The melody was heartbreakingly familiar. It reminded him of college, of stolen afternoons, of her. Back then, Mira had been sunlight in human form. She studied literature while Aarav struggled through architecture school. She wore silver bangles that chimed when she laughed and filled notebooks with poems she never let anyone read. Everyone fell in love with her. But she chose him. He still didn't know why. Maybe because he listened when she spoke. Maybe because beneath his silence, she saw the same loneliness she carried inside herself. Or maybe love was simply irrational. The kind that arrives without permission and destroys everything logical. Their love story began in a library. Predictably, romantically, painfully, Aarav had been searching for a book on urban design when a pile of novels collapsed beside him. And there she was, eyes wide, hair messy, muttering curses under her breath. You could help instead of staring, she had snapped. He knelt silently and handed her the books. One of them was underlined heavily in blue ink. She noticed him staring. What? She asked defensively. You write in books. You judge strangers too quickly. I didn't say it was bad. She narrowed her eyes, then smiled. And that was it. No thunder, no dramatic music. Just a smile that quietly changed the course of his life. Months passed, then years. They became inseparable. Late night bike rides across empty streets. Cheap roadside coffee at 2 a.m. fights over stupid things. Long kisses beneath unfinished conversations. Dreams spoken into darkness. Mira wanted to become a writer. Aarav wanted to build homes that felt less lonely. They planned an entire future together in a tiny rented apartment with leaking ceilings and broken windows. And somehow, they were happy. Truly happy. Until life remembered them. Aarav's father suffered a stroke during his final year of college. Everything collapsed afterward. Debt, hospital bills, responsibility. The dreams he and Mira once held together slowly became luxuries they could no longer afford. Aarav changed first. Stress hardened him. He stopped laughing easily, stopped calling as often, stopped noticing how loneliness was beginning to consume her too. Mira tried to stay patient. But love can survive pain only when both people keep fighting for it. And Aarav had become too tired to fight. The worst night of their relationship arrived quietly. No screaming, no shattered glass, just silence. The dangerous kind. Mira sat beside the window while rain tapped softly against the glass. You don't look at me anymore, she whispered. Aarav rubbed his eyes tiredly. Not tonight, Mira. That's the problem. It's never tonight. I'm exhausted. So am I. He stayed silent. And silence, sometimes, is crueler than words. Tears gathered in her eyes. I miss you even when you are sitting beside me. That sentence broke something inside him. Because he knew she was right. But he didn't know how to become himself again. 3 months later, she left. Not dramatically, not angrily. She simply packed her things while he was at work. The apartment looked unbearably empty afterward. On the table, she left a note. I loved you the best way I knew how. But I cannot keep begging someone to stay emotionally alive. I hope one day you forgive yourself for becoming unhappy, Mira. He read it 100 times. And hated himself a little more each time. Years passed. Aarav buried himself in work. He became successful, respected, rich, even. But loneliness followed him everywhere. Into expensive apartments. Into business meetings. Into sleepless nights. He dated other women. None of them stayed. because part of him still belonged to someone else. Hen. One random Tuesday evening, he received a message from an unknown number. Mira Kapoor is returning to Mumbai tomorrow. She asked about you. That was all. No explanation. No warning. And suddenly, after 7 years, he was standing in a railway station with trembling hands like a man about to meet his past. The train finally arrived. People poured out onto the platform. Families, couples, children, noise everywhere. And then, he saw her, older now, softer somehow, her hair shorter, pain hidden carefully behind her eyes. But still Mira, still the only woman his heart recognized instantly. For a moment, neither moved. 7 years of memories stood silently between them. They walked through the city for hours afterward, talking carefully at first, like strangers pretending not to remember intimacy. She told him she had become an editor in Delhi. He told her about his architecture firm. They avoided discussing love, avoided discussing the past, until finally, near midnight, she stopped walking. "Why didn't you come after me?" The question hit him like a knife. Aarav looked away. "Because I thought you deserved better than the version of me that existed back then. And you decided that for me? I was drowning, Mira. So was I." Silence again. But this silence trembled with unfinished grief. She wiped her eyes angrily. "You know what hurt the most?" He couldn't answer. "You let me leave." Her voice cracked completely then. "And part of me kept hoping you'd stop me." Aarav felt something inside him collapse. Because the truth was unbearable. He had wanted to stop her. Every second. But pain had convinced him he was poison. And people who believe they are poison eventually stop reaching for love. Rain began falling again. Of course it did. Mira laughed weakly through tears. "Still raining around you." He smiled for the first time that night. Seems so. They stood beneath the storm together. Two people ruined by timing, by pride, by sadness they never learned how to share properly. And yet, somewhere beneath all the damage, love still remained. Fragile, terrifying, alive. "Aarav," she whispered softly, "if we try again. I need honesty this time. Even when it's ugly." He stepped closer slowly. "I don't know how to do this perfectly. I'm not asking for perfect." His eyes filled. "Then what are you asking for?" Mira looked at him the way she had years ago in that library. Like she could still see the boy beneath the broken man. "Stay," she said quietly. "Just one word. But sometimes one word is enough to save a life." Aarav closed the distance between them and held her like someone terrified of losing home twice. And beneath the rain, beneath the pain, beneath all the years they had wasted, they finally stopped pretending they didn't still belong to each other.